I did a podcast episode a few days back that did talk about the Acolyte, but the key takeaway was that when I first saw the two episodes, I really didn't see a lot of, quote, woke gay shit in it, and I really didn't care who the showrunner was or what the community she represented was, but the rumor and innuendo floating around was, no, wait till episode 3 comes out, it's gonna break everything. So, I gave episode 3 a try, and
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
holy hell, this is Star Wars now? Yeah, I can see why so many people are saying the same things. Oh, Star Wars is dead. The Acolyte ruined Star Wars. And to that, I still disagree. I still say Star Wars has been dead since The Last Jedi.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. Mostly dead is slightly alive. Now, all dead. Well, with all dead, there's usually only one thing that you can do.
What's that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change.
Maybe Star Wars was mostly dead after Last Jedi. Who really knows? Now, when I first recorded the podcast episode going over the first 2 episodes and the media craze surrounding it, the Rotten Tomatoes score was 91% critics and 30% audience. And by the time I was finished editing and ready to release it, the score dropped down by a few points. And then by the time I'm writing this narration, the audience score dropped down to 22%. And by the time I am actually recording, the stat is currently at an 18% audience score.
Whoa.
And who knows what the score will be by the time I actually finish editing this recording and releasing this video. And even the critical score has gone down. And before this episode came out, you had one Forbes author, Eric Kane, publish an article saying how the critics must be crazy and remarked that it was just another mediocre show at best. And the author, who had actually seen the first 4 episodes while everybody else saw 2, said that he was optimistic after the first 2 episodes, but then merely hinted he was much less optimistic after episode 3 and 4. So clearly Eric was saving his wrath for episode 3, because when that episode dropped like clockwork, his headline said, "One of the most disappointing Star Wars episodes ever made." And the very first sentence stated that it's an embarrassment to the franchise, going on to call the episode a bad joke. I mean, I have never seen such a backlash for something Star Wars related as to what we're witnessing now. And I'm someone who remembers when the prequels came out. I remember when people hated Jar Jar. I guess we didn't know how good we had it then. So I remember the huge divide that happened when Disney first happened, and then saw an even larger divide after The Last Jedi. And some are even going as far as saying that this is worse than the holiday special. Wow. Again, this show is only 3 episodes in. It's still setting up everything, and people are already trashing it like it's the worst thing ever. It's just fascinating to see this happening in real time. And what happened in episode 3? Like, what did I watch? Well, it's revealed that the twin main characters grew up in some sort of witch coven where they're all women who apparently practice the dark side of the Force. But here they call the Force the thread and describe it as such. And then the big reveal.
Where is their father?
They have no father.
I carried them. I created them.
Yeah, you saw that correctly. The 2 twins were conceived using the Force by 2 of these witches.
Are you kidding me, man?
What, are you kidding me?
So it sounds to me like their DEI boxes were checked so hard that their boxes were able to scissor each other long enough to create a set of twins? Some will say, oh no, it's a callback to how Anakin was made. It's a reference to Phantom Menace. Except that when this was revealed in the Phantom Menace, it was obvious that Qui-Gon and the Jedi Council were stunned of such a thing happening. Hence the idea that Anakin was special and the prophesized chosen one. But the Acolyte is supposed to be set 100 years prior to the prequel trilogy. And now all of a sudden it's revealed that 2 lesbian witches can do the same thing? And one of those twins ends up becoming a Jedi Padawan for a while. So now they have a record of such a child be conceived by the Force. Like if that were to happen 100 years later, wouldn't the Jedi have prior records of it? So they wouldn't be as surprised when they find out about some kid named Anakin on a desert planet also being conceived in a similar way? You think that if the Jedi were masters at studying the Force, even the aspects they don't practice but are aware of, you think they'd have records of Force babies popping up prior to Anakin?
Nope.
So yeah, Anakin is no longer special. And then again, these are the same creators who hired actors who said this.
But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, Anakin blowing up the Death Star.
Yeah, that shows you how much they knew about the lore and the source material they're supposed to be working for. Everything about this witch coven is cringe. Like Lizzo and Mandalorian cringe. Like animal rights and Luke drinking alien titty milk in Last Jedi cringe. This stuff makes Jar Jar look like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. What the hell is this? Star Wars meets Frozen? How much did they pay the writers to come up with this bullshit? People used to make fun of Lucas all the time for his terrible dialogue writing, myself included. But there are so many lines and exchanges in the series that make the Phantom Menace writing seem like Shakespeare.
Attack me with all your strength.
Yes, that's the first line in the show. So why the hell would Dave Filoni, everyone's favorite savior of Star Wars, approve of this horse shit? He used to be the one that everyone raved, oh no, he knows what he's doing, he won't bow down to Kathleen Kennedy's wishes. Now it's apparent that his head is so far up her box that we don't know where he ends and she begins.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lame! Is there a problem, people?
Maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her lame and gay!
And it's still amazing how Kathleen Kennedy continues to lead Lucasfilm in this direction. Like after so many failures after so much money that Lucasfilm has been losing, she's still in charge. Any other person would have been outed by now for losing that much money. And then again, she's the one who pushed the whole Forces female marketing gimmick as far back as when she took over. And again, like I said before, I have no problem with a diverse cast when it's done organically, even when it's a science fiction space opera where humans and alien species can procreate. The issue and pretty much everyone else has is the head of Lucasfilm and the showrunners being extremely in your face about why they make the casting choices they make, and basically admitting that they're caring more about filling out all of the diversity, equity, inclusion checkboxes first and promoting whatever agenda-driven message they want to do first over any compelling story that makes sense, any story that respects original lore and stays true to the source material. And instead, they just seem to be coming out with their own fan fiction that satisfies what they think Star Wars should be. So it's no wonder why George Lucas at the Cannes Film Festival recently said,
later on, when they were making more movies, they said, there's no women in the movies. I said, who do you think the heroes are in those films? What do you think Princess Leia was? She is the head of the rebellion. She's the one that's taking this young kid that doesn't know anything and this boisterous, I know everything guy who can't do anything and trying to save the rebellion. And they said, well, but there's no women, you know. I said, you can't just put a woman in pants and expect her to be a hero. I was the only one that really knew what Star Wars was. So I was like the consultant, the advisor who actually knew the world. Because there's a lot to it. The Force, nobody understood the Force. Nobody, you know, what they do is, and then they started other ones when I sold the company, and they, you know, a lot of those ideas that were in there sort of got lost. But that's the way it is.
I understand being bitter about your creation being changed after you sell it to someone else. But I would be pissed off too if I created something and then watched it get changed into something I no longer recognize because the new people in charge all wanted to push their shitty ideas over yours.
Fuck baby, dude, put a chick in it, make her gay.
You want an example of a recent series that also has a diverse cast? Fallout. And I said before that I enjoyed it and I had fun watching it from start to finish. The writing was good, it had a decent story, and it actually did a great job capturing the look and feel, plus stayed mostly true to the lore of the games. So when I watched the Fallout series, it felt like I was watching a Fallout show. It didn't add a bunch of shit out of nowhere that was never established just for the sake of promoting some message, and because it was good, you didn't notice the DEI stuff that Hollywood and Amazon-produced shows were pushing. So if the Acolyte was a much better product, if the quality was good, something that a lot of people enjoyed at the same level as the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, then nobody would be pointing out the DEI tropes and the horrible writing decisions associated with it. But instead, we get space lesbian darkside force practicing witches who claim to be persecuted by the Galactic Republic and the Jedi that can use their force thread to create a set of black children who grew up without a daddy. Because we don't need no man, fuck men. I get that there's people who want representation, but seriously, if I was a member of the community or some vocal SJW fighting for more diversity and LGBT characters, and I saw that the result of this was these shows being made, I would be insulted. And it's also stupid that many people will defend this horseshit writing and overlook the things that don't make any sense because their diversity boxes got checked, because now that's all they care about. To that, I say the people in the gay community, they deserve better than that. Oh yeah, diverse cast, we got a lead character played by a queer person of color who identifies as gender fluid. And yet the show is the worst received series out of anything Star Wars related and anything Disney has made since the Lucas sale.
Good job.
Oh, it's just a vocal minority. They're just review bombing.
Well, if it was a vocal minority, then this franchise wouldn't continue to be losing money. A vocal minority of fans wouldn't cause the profits to end up below the cost of Disney buying Lucasfilm. They haven't made the money back from buying Lucasfilm. Instead, they've lost at least a couple of $1 billion from the sale of Lucasfilm alone. All of this push to attract more women and minorities in the shows, and yet the audience is still predominantly older males, people my age and older who still consider themselves fans, at least fans of what Star Wars used to be. The same men they claim,
oh, the show isn't meant for you, don't watch it.
But then, like a bipolar bitchy wife, they get pissed and blame the men for not showing up to watch their shit. So then you do watch it. And then you decide you don't like the story or the characters, and they say,
oh, you're a bigot, you're a misogynist, you're a racist.
This has been a 12-year-long thing. We're fucking tired of this. And I still maintain that Star Wars died after The Last Jedi came out in 2017. Aside from maybe the first 2 Mandalorian seasons and maybe the Clone Wars, and sure, the Obi-Wan show has their fans, and Ahsoka show has their fans. Some of the new cartoons have their set of fans. But what they've done since then has done nothing to reinvigorate and generate buzz. There's been no big revival of new Star Wars fans because they've continued to beat a dead horse. They can't bait and switch us anymore with shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi. People have caught on to what Disney and Lucasfilm has been doing the last 12 years, and they have turned Star Wars into something that people either loved or hated, but still cared about, into something they just don't give a shit about anymore. And no, I do not want to watch The Acolyte Episode 4. Why should I? I think a lot of people are going to be saying we're done with Star Wars, but really only time will tell, because I've been hearing the same old shit for the last 7 years at this point. So with that said, I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.